At the very end of the day, so you sent me the letter for the that your medical exemption was denied. So after we talked, I sent it to HR and asked, what do we do? As we talked about before. And they said that as per the medical exemption, that the letter is that it's effective 14 days after the date of the letter. So basically the letter for the exemption denial was February 8th. So in terms of Island Health, you have to be able to, Island Health is not allowed to do anything until February 22nd. So they have the medical exemption until 22nd. So it expires February 22nd. So that's where the February 22nd comes, the 14 days after the date of the letter. Okay. And then as far as they're concerned, because of the public health order, Island Health has been given the public health order, which I'm happy to send you if you want, that everyone who works for Island Health, whether they're on site or not on site, has to be vaccinated. And if you're not vaccinated, then Island Health has to put you on an unpaid leave starting February 22nd. And then you would have 2 weeks of an unpaid leave. So that's where, when I texted you the March 7th date, I was under the impression that you would be meeting with an allergist. So I wanted you to have the date so that you would have a date to tell them. So that's where the February 7th comes in. So February 22nd to March 7th is the 2 weeks of unpaid leave for you to do whatever you need to do if you choose to get vaccinated. And then after the March 7th is the time when, if people are not vaccinated, that Island Health has to stop your employment at that time.
I understand.
So, yeah, and I can send you a letter with all those dates on it so that you don't have to remember it and all that kind of stuff. I'll send you one that's generated through HR that has all the dates listed on there, so you don't have to try and remember it and write it down and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So
that's it.
That's it.
That's it. So before the March 7th deadline, I'm supposed to meet with you just as a follow-up, just to see what your intentions are. Mm-hmm. If you want to, we can set a date right now, sometime before March 7th, or you can email me and just say, let's just touch base on this date. And then we can set up a time to meet so that you're not like just floundering, right? Obviously, we want to support you I want to support you as much as I possibly can. So that's the whole purpose of the time before the March 7th. So you're not just floundering and being like, well, I guess it's March 7th today. I guess I don't have a job, right? So just seeing if there's any extra support that you need, and to find out, do you actually, are you going to be moving forward with that? And then after the March 7th to have a civil conversation where you're actually told, rather than just sent a letter, just to say, okay, this is the decision that's been made, and here's all the information that you have.
I guess one question I have is, if I did somehow manage to get into an allergist, which at this point seems near to impossible. I've actually contacted a couple of them today, and if I was shown to have an allergy to the vaccines, would Island Health still be terminating my employment?
That's a good question. I'll ask HR that. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
So I think, so from an Island Health vantage point, what I do know is that they have to be in compliance with the public health order. Mm-hmm. So I think that it would go back to the public health officer to make that determination. I don't think Island Health is allowed to make those determinations to say we're going to give an exception for this and not for that. I think it's just a very blanket. Island Health can't do anything other than go to the public health officer, and the public health officer makes that determination.
Well, and in their wording in the letter that they sent to me a week ago or whatever it was,
right.
They were very clear. This is a final decision. No further consideration will be given. So I
right.
guess, my next question is there any point in pursuing
right.
with an allergist?
I don't know. It's 100% up to you, right? So I guess in the end, and whether or not this is supported through Island Health or not, it would just be a personal choice. So let's pretend you just want to know with an allergist, right? So say you manage to get in to see an allergist and they say, you have no allergy, you're free to be vaccinated, for example. And then you can make your own individual determination. Yeah, I'm going to get vaccinated or I'm not going to get vaccinated, right? To me, that would be the only point to it, in the sense that you would be able to make your a choice based on all the information, as well as to say, have the allergist see you. And if they say, yeah, you're allergic to the vaccine, regardless of the job, it would give you that knowledge that, yeah, you know what, I'm making the right choice for my health, right? That's what I intuitively think, but I'll ask the question for sure to HR and find out what their stance is or what they've heard in terms of that.
Well, I think that's good. And I think, I guess I flip that back to Island Health and ask the question, how can you make a decision like this when we do not have all of the information about
I don't think Island Health has a choice.
No.
Island Health doesn't have a choice. So I think it's a matter of the law, right? So the public health officer, when they make these determinations, they basically say, this is the law and you shall follow it. And then Island Health has to find a way to follow it. So I don't think, that's why it's always being punted. And that's why the medical exemptions are not being held through Island Health. They're being held through the public health office because that's where it's coming from. So I don't think Island Health has a choice. So let's pretend you see an allergist and the allergist says, yep, he's allergic to the vaccine. He cannot get vaccinated despite this letter. All Island Health can do is tell the public health officer that. And if the public health officer says, too bad, so sad, Island Health has no choice. It's just the law, which is really difficult. I know it's hard to understand, or it's easy in the sense of there's no gray in it. It's just a very black and white in terms of the Island Health policy. What happens outside that, who knows? As you're hearing, as I'm hearing, it's very divided right now for all that kind of stuff.
Well, it is interesting that British Columbia is the only province in the country that is pursuing the termination of employees, even those who are home-based, for not being vaccinated. I mean, I'm a teacher and I teach on call in the elementary school system in Victoria. I don't have to be vaccinated.
I know.
I'm just making these points to you in a conversation that's
absolutely. It's all very confusing.
And I guess the thing that kind of sticks out for me is, Island Health does have a choice.
In what way?
I work for Island Health. Island Health is my employer. And you do have a choice in terms of whether or not you carry out provincial health officer orders. And I think that, the way that history will look back on this is that people were carrying out terminations in particular that were unlawful and that were very damaging to people's lives when the vaccines really don't prevent transmission.
No, they don't prevent transmission, but they do prevent serious illness from what we've seen in the hospital. But I haven't read all the articles, honestly, Kevin. I'm just the bearer of bad news. That's it. I wish that I had more say in policy and procedure from a country level, but I don't. Like yourself, I'm just an employee of Island Health and have to follow the rules. And that's it. I'll bring up your concerns for sure to the HR, to human resources, so they can bring them forward. And I'm happy to give you that information, whatever information they give back. But honestly, there's nothing that I can do.
No, I understand. Another question I have is, why is nobody considering natural immunity? Because, scientifically that's well documented to be much, much stronger than vaccines. And nobody's ever asked me if I've had COVID. And
right.
So very interesting. And just more food for thought on this, journey that we're both on. It's
this crazy time for sure. It's a very crazy time.
It is. Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'll appreciate, some, I guess, clarity on the points that I've raised. And, if you can, and if not, that's okay. I will continue to pursue the allergist appointments
Fair enough. Yeah.
up until the point of termination and beyond.
Okay, fair enough. And you know what? One of the things that I have heard in different conversations is if, say, someone a year from now decides to get vaccinated and there's still this requirement and they want to come back to Island Health, the doors are opened. There's no grudges being held in terms of people not getting vaccinated and deciding to go a different path. So that's always there. For sure. So say this all plays out and you can't get into see the allergist and you want to get vaccinated, blah, 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 blah. The doors aren't closed. This isn't the end, obviously, for everything. So something to keep in mind. But I'll definitely send you the letter so you have the dates. Let me know when is a good time for us just to follow up. And we'll just go from there. I'll ask the human resources those questions. And let me make sure that I write them down so I ask them properly, because knowing my luck, I'll forget and not ask what you're interested in. So one, if you have an allergy, is the termination, will the medical exemption remain or what have you, right?
Would there be possibility of saving my job if I was to be able to prove the allergy by March 7th?
Yep. Okay. And then the other question was, I'll just bring up the points that you wanted to make. That number one, that Island Health does not need to follow the public health order. And then secondly, there was one more, wasn't there, or no?
Yeah, I guess the question around why is nobody asking about natural immunity when that's regarded in scientific studies that I've read as 13 times stronger than having a vaccine. I mean, we both just discussed and acknowledged the lack of prevention of transmission. And so, the whole thing is confusing on that point as well.
Fair enough.
Especially if I have natural immunity and, it's not preventing transmission, then what sense does this make?
Fair enough. Yep, I'll ask about that and I'll let you know what the response is. And we'll go from there.
Okay.
So I guess for your knowledge, so as of February 22nd, I don't know your hours. I don't have access to your schedule. Do you normally work, is it a Monday to Friday or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or what days do you normally work?
So this week it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay.
And then next week it's Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay, so I need to put you on unpaid leave as of February 22nd. So pretty much Friday would be your last working day, and then you'll be put on an unpaid leave. Okay.
Yep. So it's actually going to be Thursday. I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, fair enough. Yep. Okay.
Thanks for the
I will make sure that Ashley books that hotel for you so that we get that sorted.
Great.
And we'll kind of go from there.
Okay. Thanks, Janice.
Okay. You're welcome.
Take
Talk
care.
to you later. Bye-bye.